welcome to Agni Talks, and today we are going to talk about parenthood and pride. අපි අද කතා කරන්න ඇත්තටම හිතන් ඉන්නේ family එක කියන concept එක ගැනයි අපිට තියෙන systematic ඒ වගේම මේ pride month එක ගැන තමයි වැඩිම කතා කරන්න plan එක. ඒකට අදාළව ඇත්තටම මේ ගොඩක් activations උත් වෙනවා. ඒක හින්දා අපි හිතුවා මේක ගැන පොඩ්ඩක් වෙන perspectives වලින් පොඩ්ඩක් කතා කරන්න. මගෙත් එක්ක ඉන්න මගේ හොඳම යාළුවෙක් සලා single dad කෙනෙක්, co-parent කෙනෙක්. ඒ වගේම he's also gay. Yes. So Sala, can you say hi to the guys?
Hi. So nice to be having this chat today. Happy Pride.
So Sala and I, we go a long way. Our kids are pretty much the same age. They were friends. අවුරුදුනේ මාස 8 වගේ ඉඳලානේ මාස 8 අවුරුද්ද වගේ කාලේ ඉඳලා සලයි වගේ ළමයි හොඳම යාළුවෝ. They are like unicorns and fairies, yeah. They are killing so much feminine girls, you know, like they are like super feminine, yeah. But it's really cool, you know, to see that they are very creative, they are amazing, they are like center of everything. Everywhere they go, they are like just superb. I just love them. And අපි ගොඩක් කල් එකට එක ගෙදර හිටියා සලයි මමයි. සලා ගේ වුණාට ඒක කවදාවත් මට ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබුණෙත් නෑ. ඒකට හේතුව ඇවිල්ලා මම පොඩි කාලේ ඉඳලා මේ being gay කියන එක අර outspoken නැති වුණාට ඒක මාර common scene එකක් තිබුණා. ඒක මම දැන් සලත් ඉන්න කලින් කතා කරා. මම හැදුනේ ඉස්කෝලේ අපි හැදුණු ඒ කියන්නේ මිනිස්සු පොන්නයා කියලා කියනවා. එනකොට පොන්නයා කියලා එයාව අර හරෑස් කරන විදිහ එකක් නෙමෙයි එතන වෙන්නේ. එතන අර පොන්නයා කියන වචනෙත් පාවිච්චි කරේ නිකන් ස්ට්‍රෙන්ත් එක අඩුයි කියන සීන් එකට විතරයි වගේ. අපේ ඇයි අරක
ඒක පාවිච්චි කරන එක කොහොමද වැරදි?
ඔව් වැරදි. ඒක පාවිච්චි කරන එක කොහොම කිව්වත් ඒ කියන්නේ ඒකේ මීනින් එක කොහොම වුණත් ඒක වැරදි. ඒනට මේ ඒක අර මාර සෝෂල් සීන් එකක් තිබුණා අපි පොඩි කාලේ. ඒ කියන්නේ කොල්ලෝ එක්ක ආශ්‍රය කරන එකයි ඒක අර සෙක්ෂුවල් වෙන ඒවායි ඒවා ඔක්කොම එච්චරටම කතා කරාට ඒකේ අර ඉස්කෝලේ පැත්තෙන් ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් අඩුවෙන් සීන් එකක් තිබුණා. මම ඒක දන්නේ ඒක නුවර මට දැනෙච්ච දෙයක් තමයි තිබුණේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මගේ යාළුවෝ ගොඩක් ඉන්න ඉතින් අපි පොඩ්ඩක් ඕපන් මයින්ඩඩ් සීන් එකකට තිබුණා ඒක ඒ කාලේ. ඉතින් මේ මට ඒ වුණාට පර්සනලි වුණ දෙයක් තමයි මගේ කන්සෙන්ට් එකක් කිසිම නැතුව මාව අල්ලන්න පටන් ගත්තාම මිනිස්සු මට එක දේවල් කරන්න කියලා බලෙන් කිව්වහම abuse කරන්න harassment කියන දේ වුණාම මට අර මගේ අර කොල්ලෙක් එක්ක උනත් පහසුවෙන් ඊමට තියෙන ability එක නැති වුණා. හැබැයි අපේ යාළුවෝ සෙට් එකක් හිටියා. අපි කියන්නේ අපිට girlfriends හිටියට අපි ඔක්කොලාටම අර කිසිම අවුලක් නැහැ. අර ටච් කරන්නයි ඒවා ඔක්කොම අවුලක් නැහැ. අපි ඔක්කොලාම කියන්නේ හැමතිස්සෙම එකට හිටියේ. අපිට එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. අපිට අර concept එක අපි අර ගේ කියන rights කියන දේවත් අපිට අවශ්‍යතාවයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ. අපිට අර comfort zone එකක් තිබිච්ච හින්දා. ඒ වුණාට මට ඒක දැනෙච්ච දෙයක් තමයි එහෙම community එකක් නැති වුණාමයි අනිත් එක මේ consent නැතුව මේ abuse කරාම ඒ කියන්නේ abuse කියන දේ කරාම ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට පොඩි කාලේ ඉඳලා communicate කරන්න කියලා දීලා නැහැනේ කවදාවත්. abuse කියන එක කොහොමද communicate කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා poster දාලා තියෙනවා තමයි. එනට ඒක ගැන කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකට තමන්නුත් එක තැනකදී ඒ වගේ විදියට හැසිරෙද්දී ආස හිතුණා ඒ දෙයට. ඒකට ඒ කියන්නේ ඊට පස්සේ ඒක උඩ අපි ඇක් කරලා තියෙනවා. නැතුව නෙමෙයි. දැන් මට ඒ වගේ ඇක් කරලා තියෙන කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා මම ඉස්කෝලේ ඉන්නකොට. ඉතින් එනාට මේක අර සෝෂලි මේක අර abusive තැනකට ආවහම ඒ කියන්නේ consent කියන පැත්තෙන් ආවම මට වැඩියෙන්ම ඒක තමයි මේ ආදීත් ඒක ගැන පොඩ්ඩක් කතා කරයි මේ harassment කියන දේ ගැන abuse කියන දේ ගැන මේ
I think we all come from our own experiences of, different kinds of harassment or anything basically. So my experience would be I've had a couple, and I would like to say that my body remembers it, the trauma. So அதுல இருந்து எப்படி மீண்டு வர்றதுன்றது வந்து பலவிதமான traumas irukku, your muscle memory, what your body remembers, what your mind remembers, and then when you're going through a certain journey, all these things can resurface, so you constantly question and doubt yourself as well. So I don't know what to do about harassment, but I know I am there in a place where I know how to deal with it. Obviously, yes, you protect yourself, not through anger or through any sort of rage. The only way you can do is by being calm, to be very honest. Only then you'll have the energy to do anything for yourself too. I think that's where I come from. Kiruthika, do you want to say something about this as well?
என்னை பொறுத்த வரையில ஹாரஸ்மெண்ட் வரைக்கும் எந்த வாழ்க்கையில வந்து சின்ன வயசுல இருக்க வந்து டொமஸ்டிக் வயலன்ஸ் தான் கூடுதலாக எனக்கு இருந்தது. ஆதி சொன்ன மாதிரி அது வந்து அது மெமரிஸ்ல வந்து அது இன்பில்ட் ஆயிடும் சின்ன வயசுல. ஸோ இப்ப கிட்டதான் இப்ப தெரப்பி மென்டல் ஹெல்த் நான் இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் பண்ணப்பட்டு அதுல வந்து எனக்கு இந்த காம்ப்ளெக்ஸ் போஸ்ட் ட்ராமேட்டிக் ஸ்ட்ரெஸ் டிசார்டர் ஒரு இது எனக்கு தெரிய வந்தது. அப்படி பார்க்க வந்து நீங்க சின்ன வயசுலயே உங்களோட பெற்றோர்கள், உதாரணத்துக்கு இப்ப என் அம்மா ஐயா அவேர் செஞ்ச டொமஸ்டிக் வயலன்ஸின் பிரகாரம் நாங்க சின்ன பிள்ளையா இருக்கே அந்த 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 ஹை லெவல் ஆஃப் அட்வர்சிட்டி வந்து சின்ன பிள்ளைகளுக்கு சரியான சென்சிட்டிவ். இட் அஃபெக்ட்ஸ் யுவர் பிரெயின் ஃபங்க்ஷன், இட் அஃபெக்ட்ஸ் a lot of in general. So based on that memories, at a very young age, I started to create kind of memories which was much more hurtful, and also I felt that hurt through emotions. My body felt it physically. So இப்படி எல்லாம் மெமரிஸ் நாங்கள் ஃபீல் பண்ணிக்கல வந்து அந்த சின்ன வயசுல அது 3 வயசுல இதை தொடங்கிடும். அதுல இருந்து நீங்க வளர 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 ஒரு 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 நியூரல் பாத்வே ஒன்று நீங்கள் பில்ட் பண்ண தொடங்குவீங்க. அதாவது வந்து அந்த மெமரிஸ் ரிப்பீட் ஆக 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 அதை வச்சு கொண்டுதான் உங்களோட எக்ஸ்பீரியன்சஸ், நீங்க எப்படி ஃபீல் பண்ற நீங்கள் வாழ்க்கையில, உங்களோட நட உட பாவனை, நீங்க எப்படி உங்களோட தாட் ப்ராசஸ் இருக்கு, நீங்க எப்படி ஒவ்வொரு விஷயங்களுக்கும் வந்து என்னென்ன மீனிங்ஸ் நீங்கள் உருவாக்குறீங்கன்றது வந்து உங்களோட லைஃப் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ், சின்ன வயசுல அந்த லைஃப் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்சஸ்ல நீங்கள் உணர்ந்து கொள்வீங்க. சோ ஆகவே வந்து நான் ஒரு டீனேஜ் ஒரு 12-13 வயசு இருக்கே நான் ஒரு 30-40 வயசு உடைய ஒரு ஆள் இந்த மெச்சூரிட்டி நான் அடைஞ்சிட்டேன் அன்பார்ச்சுனேட்லி. சோ ஆதி சொன்ன மாதிரி யூ ஃபீல் இட். இன்னொன்னு நான் அதை ஆட் பண்ணணும் என்னட்டால், ஆதி சொன்னவ ஹாரஸ்மெண்ட்ல எப்படி டீல் பண்றதுன்ட்டு அவருக்கு அதாவது தடுக்கிற முறைகள் அவருக்கு தெரியுமெண்டு. ஆனா நான் இன்னும் அந்த டொமஸ்டிக் வயலன்ஸால வெளியால வர்றதுக்கு இன்னும் எனக்கு I'm still looking for solutions, looking for answers, looking for paths as to how to deal with such trauma. Because இன்றைக்கு கூட ஒரு ஆள் ஒரு முசுபாத்திக்கு ஒரு பகடிக்காக கைய மேல ஓங்கினால் கூட ஒரு ஃப்ரெண்ட் டக்குன்னு நான் அந்த சைல்ட்ஹுட் மெமரியை வச்சுக்கொண்டு I go into a fetal position and cry. So அதுல இருந்து நாங்கள் எப்படி வெளியால வர்றதுன்னு இன்னும் I'm still figuring it out. So that's all, Adi. That's just a small experience.
Alright, I just wanted to ask, நீங்க சொன்னீங்க தானே இந்த மாதிரி நீங்க அதாவது அந்த பழைய மெமரியை வச்சுக்கிட்டு இப்ப வரைக்கும் ஏதாவது ஒரு ஸ்பெசிபிக்கான ஈவென்ட்டோ எதுவும் நடக்கக்குள்ள அந்த மெமரி relapses and you behave according to that particular memory. So do you want to give an example, because I can relate to it. I think I understand what you're saying, because But then so that's not recovering, right? That's just, going in a loop or in a pattern that you're not able to break. So adula irundhu eppadi meendu varradhu, like how do you actually put your foot forward and say, what, I don't want to go into this loop sort of a pattern, and how do you break free from that, and how do you change the pattern? Anyone can answer any of these, so yeah. Kiru.
I'll just jump in there because that's something I'm personally always after and looking for answers in that field. Say for me, my childhood, Mama was very different in Colombo from what Gihan mentioned. I went to St. Thomas's in Mount Lavinia, and I grew up, I guess, in a middle class family, but I guess this culture of thinking back then was very small-minded, for lack of a word, where, I don't know, as a queer kid, a gay kid growing up, I guess for me it was much easier to hide certain parts of me so that, I don't know, where I would not be different from everybody else. And I think the lack of sex education in our school system and the fact that what is taught is so very one-sided and closed-minded in terms of what the worldview is right now. For me, it took a long time for me to come to terms with who I am and to really understand who I am, and then after that come out at the point where I became a father. That was when I really decided that I needed to be very, very truthful with myself. So I've played many different lives and roles in this process of healing, I'd like to call it, because I think all of us could not help the situations that we were in growing up because our school system and our parents' view at that time and what they knew about the world was very different. They came in a situation where there was so much of war and nobody trusted anyone. There was so much of violence in the situation that we grew up in. There was a lot of pressure for everyone to, I think, be the same or fit in or to avoid unnecessary these things. So as a kid growing up with feeling that I don't really fit into any of these norms, my feelings are different. When I hit puberty, I started realizing these things. But I quickly realized that for me to be safe, I needed to change myself. And I think those become traumas that you keep in certain parts of your body, and it affects you. It affects everything you do. The way you pattern your life is according to how you manage your safety, and not to be able to be oneself in your own community is a very traumatic experience. It's something that, I don't know, for me it took a long time. I'm turning 40 now, but when I came out I was, I think, in my late 20s, almost turning 30, when I actually had the courage to do that. But what I think as a solution to these things is, I think we must encourage our younger generations, and what I encourage my daughter is also to be themselves as much as possible, and us as parents or even teachers, I think, should know that they are just guides in this whole journey we call life, and we are given these roles to play in our life so that we can guide other people also through traumas, taking into account our learning and what we went through. So we can't really erase what we went through, but we can really give the space like this to really talk about it, to get together as communities and share of what happened to us, what growing up was like, but what we imagine the future to be like for the future generations to come, so that the same things don't repeat themselves. So I think that's where I am, and that's why I practice. I'm very interested in different healing mechanisms that go back down to our roots itself. It's just as simple as having the time and space in your day to just breathe, to wake up, to just spend some time getting to know who you are, and really spending time in building a relationship with yourself, and then seeing how you fit into a community that respects you, that loves you, and allows you to be the best that you are. And I think that's why I love small grassroots operations like this that are forming, which are really the key to navigating ourselves out of what we are experiencing right now as Sri Lankans.
Yeah.
Altogether, doesn't matter what our sexual orientation or gender is. So yeah.
But this place now which has come, the Aragale pretty much has created a lot of noise about everything, and acceptance is happening, and it has to happen because, I mean, there is religious acceptance, even though there are still fucking struggles, you know, it's like. Anyway, so Sala, අපි කතා කරොත් වාගේ කොහොමද ඔයා ඉතින් මේක කරන් යන්නේ? ඉතින් දැන් ඔයා දන්නවනේ සීන් එක සිංගල් පේරන්ට් කිව්ව ගාම වත්ත වටේ ඉන්න ඔක්කොම ගෑනු ටිකයි පිරිනම් වැඩි ප්‍රශ්න අහන්නේ නැහැ නේද? ගෑනු ටික ඔක්කොම යන තැන because both of us actually live in down south. We meet a lot of different people, and because we are also like kind of like outgoing and kind of like extrovert people in a way, you know. We are very extrovert, I think. So, but yeah, we also have like, I think like even extroverts struggle with certain things a lot that they can't express also into certain aspects, but we try our best to express each other as friends also to whatever extent we can about, and we have arguments about it, but not like fights. Yeah. But we disagree upon agreeing so that we can find solutions. Like we do a lot of talking. Anyway, Sala, කොහොමද ඉතින් මේක කරන්නේ? දැන් මම දන්නවා ඉතින් මම personally තනියම ගියක් ගත්තාම එතන තැනට ගියාම වටේ ඉන්න කට්ටිය ඒවා යොක් කළාම ඒ ප්‍රශ්න ටික එනවා. දැන් ඒගොල්ලෝ අහන ඔක්කොම ප්‍රශ්න ටික අහනවානේ. අහන්න පුළුවන් හැමදේම දැනගන්න අහනවා මෙයා මොනවද කරන්නේ තමන්ගේ personal life එක ගැන. ලංකාවේ කට්ටිය දන්නවනේ උපදූප scene එක කොහෙත් තියෙනවා, හරි අමාරුයි. තනියම ජීවත් වෙන්න හදනදී මාර අමාරුයි. ඉතින් ඒකෙදි ඒගොල්ලොන් එක්ක ඩීල් කරන්නේ කොහොමද මේ සිටුේෂන් එක?
I think එක සිටුේෂන් එකවත් හිටියා
මමත් හිටියා.
අපි එකට ගෙදරක හිටිය කාලේ අපි කොහොමදත් මම නම් ටිකටම හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ ලංකාවේම තමයි. මම නිවාඩුවට එහෙම පොඩි රටවල් වලට ගිහින් නැහැ. එච්චරයි. මම ලාංකිකයෙක්. කියන්නේ මම කවදාවත් විවාහ වෙලා නැහෙත්. මට දරුවෙක් ඉන්නවා. මම ගොඩක් ඇක්ටිව් ෆාදර් කෙනෙක් මගේ දරුවගේ ජීවිතේ ඉපදුන දවසේ ඉඳලා. ඉතින් මට එක තිබුණ එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි හැම වෙලේම මම දකුණේ ඉන්නකොට මට කොළඹට වඩා ලේසි. මට දකුණේ ඉන්නකොට ගොඩක් ෆ්‍රීඩම් එක තිබුණා. මට අවශ්‍ය විදිහට ගයක් වගේ ඉන්න. බට් එක ගෙදරක අපේ එහා ගෙදර හිටපු කට්ටියට ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබුණා. ඒකෙත් මගේ ලිංගිකත්වය පිළිබඳව නෙමෙයි. මට ගොඩක් මගේ ගෙදරට ගොඩක් ගැහණු යාළුවෝ එනවා කියන එක. and ඒගොල්ලෝ එක දවසක් ගිහන්නොත් ගෙදර හිටියා. මේ එයා ඉන්නකොට මේ ගිහන් මට කෝල් එකක් දීලා කිව්වා එයා ගෙදර කට්ටිය මේ ගේට්ටුවට ගහනවා පීයකුත් අරගෙන මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ මේ එන්න එපා ගෙදර කියලා. ඉතින් මම කිව්වා කොහොමද මේ මගේ ගෙදර මම ගෙදර එන්න ඕනේ. මේ මම ඉන්න තැන හොඳ වෙලාවට මගේ දුව හිටියේ නෑ. හිටියාගේ අම්මගේ ගෙදර. මම බැස්සම් මාව වට කරගෙන ගහලා මට මෙහෙම කිව්වා මෙහෙමයි මේ ගෑනු ළමයි විතරයි ගෙදරට එන්නේ. බට් මගේ ගොඩක් යාළුවෝ ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් මම ආටිස්ට් කෙනෙක්. අපි පේන් කරනවා ගොඩක් දේවල් කරනවා. ඉතින් ඒක ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් වුණා. බට් මට මගේ ඔළුවේ ඒ වෙලාවේ ගියේ මේගොල්ලෝ මේ ඇත්තටම දන්නවා නම් මේ මං ගැන තව මොන වගේ කතාවක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. ඉතින් ඒ වෙලාවේ ඒගොල්ලෝ බීලා හිටියේ මම මුකුත් බීලා එමේ හිටියේ නෑ. මම මේ ගොඩක් කාම් සිටුේෂන් එකක ඉතින් මම දන්න විදිහට කතා කරා. හොඳ වෙලාවට මම දන්න මගේ අනිත් නේබර්ස් ගොඩක් අපේ යාළුවෝ තව යාළුවෙක් ආවා ඒ වෙලාවට. එතනින් ඒ සිටුේෂන් එක ඩිෆියුස් වෙලා ඊට පස්සේ මම රෙන්ට් එකට ඉන්නේ. ඒකින්ද ලෑන්ඩ්ලෝඩ් එකත් එක්ක වෙලා පොලිසියට කතා කරලා ඒ සිටුේෂන් එක ඩිෆියුස් කරන්න වුණා. බට් ඒක ගොඩක්ම වෙන්නේ I think අපි හැදිලා තියෙන පරිසරය හැම වෙලෙම බලන්නේ කවුරු හරි තමන්ගේ නෝමල්නස් එකට වඩා එහා ඉන්නවා නම් ඒ පුද්ගලයා ගැන තව සැලකිලිමත් යුතුයි, සොයා බැලිය යුතුයි. හරි අමුතු විදිහට බලන්න. ඉතින් මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න හැම වෙලෙම එනවා. but I think අපි අපේ society එකක් අනුව අපි ගොඩක් පසුබැහැලා තියෙනවා. මොකද අපි ඉස්කෝලෙන් අපිට වුණ ඒ කියන්නේ එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් එක අනුව අපි society එකට යනකොටත් මට ගොඩක්ම ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබුණේ කොහොමද මේ ගැටීම් අතර මේ දේ කරන්නේ. මොකද ඒක ලෝක දෙකක් වගේ. but ඒක actually එකතු වෙන එක ලොකු ස්ට්‍රෙන්ත් එකක්. and ඒක මේ ස්ට්‍රගල් එකක් වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. but ඒක ස්ට්‍රගල් එකක් නිසා තමයි ගොඩක් I think එක වගේ හිතන කට්ටිය එකතු වෙලා කතා කරන්න ඕනේ තව මේ වගේ. ඒ වගේම මම හිතන්නේ තවත් කට්ටිය පෙළඹ වෙන්න ඕනේ අනිත් compassion, empathy ඒ කියන වචනේ මොකද අපිට දැන් මම කියන්නේ මම languages දෙකෙන්ම කතා කරනවා ඉංග්‍රීසි වලින් කිව්වොත් අපිට ඉස්සර තිබුණේ නැහැ ඒ කියන්නේ vocabulary එකක් මේ වගේ දේවල් ගැන කතා කරන්න. මොකද මේ වගේ දේවල් කවදාවත් කතා වුන්නේ නැහැ normal society එකක. but අපි දැන් ඉගෙනගෙන තියෙන විදිහට අපේ communities වල අපි දන්න විදිහට අපිට දැන් තියෙනවා මේ වචන set එකක්. අපිට මේවා ගැන හරි clearly කතා කරන්න. and අපි අපේ ළමයිටත් මේවා දේවල් උගන්වන්න පුළුවන්. and මම කියන්නේ ඕනේ parent කෙනෙක්ටත් තමාගේ ළමයිත් එක්ක ගෙවන කාලය තමයි parent කෙනෙක් හැටියට වැදගත්ම කාලය. මේ කාලය හැම වෙලෙම ඒ ළමයා ගැන තවත් දැනගන්න ඒ relationship එක build කරන්න use කරන්න. and ඒ ළමයි අපිත් එක්ක open වෙන තරමට අපිත් එක්ක කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන තරම වැඩිම හොඳ වෙයි.
Okay, so Sala, this is for you. With whatever I could understand, I just wanted to ask, and like I said, Kiru or Agni can answer this as well. Are you really free from the society, and how do you? Yes, you told about how you can deal with it through compassion and by educating and re-educating everyone, but are you really free? Like where do you know that you feel free? Like how do you try and be peaceful with it?
That's a crazy question, but yeah, I think the whole concept of freedom is it's a very personal thing. You are as free as you can imagine yourself to be. And I think it's a matter of really having respect for yourself and really working, doing the hard work of getting to know who you are, where you come from. I think spending the time to sit with yourself and really answer the questions that you're expecting society to answer for you. And once you come to those answers and you find integrity in the way you live and what you do, and you really realize that who you are is a very sacred thing, and how you live that life is how you connect with society also. So yeah, I think it's more about really working on yourself, and then also looking for and not being happy with just any society, but actually really going out there and finding your community also, and seeing and really re-evaluating your friendships and who you hang out with and what you do in terms of who you are as a person, and finding people that respect you as a person. And for me that is very important, that it doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is or anything like that. It's just about vibing with people and what you feel, and actually being able to connect with people on those terms.
Yeah. The thing is also you can't be 100% expressive also, because you also have to understand the empathy part about it also, because we have to understand society in a ඒගොල්ලන්ටත් trauma තියෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ because you are the victim for sure, but they are also victims, like it's like accepting this somehow, that everybody is a victim, and so we need systematic change. So this is why we have come into a place where we need a revolution in this country, because we need a systematic change. It's like saying, when people say Gota Gogama, have you gone there? I think the question should be which one or where, because it's like an idea. It's not a actual place. Like this revolution, whatever has started, it's like expanding thing now. It's expanding to the country, to the rest of the world, in a different way. And it's more about knowledge, and passing those is knowledge about mental health. I think this is the whole reason why I started Agni Talks, was because of the mental health part, because we are all stuck in a loop. And we need to get out of this loop.
I think it's also, if you say, it's not about being victimized, but it's also about the process of healing and how you take back that power.
Yeah.
What is rightfully yours.
Yes.
And it's that process of doing that, and I think figuring it out for yourself first.
Yeah, you have to figure it out by yourself. Yeah.
Because for me, I had to leave my job, I had to leave Colombo, I had to also do all the things that I had told myself not to do in order to get to a place where yeah, I was comfortable to talk about myself in public, in society, and be that.
Yeah.
And that is also because I felt I needed to do that for the sake of my child and other children also that are around here. But it's a commitment.
It's a work forever.
Yeah, and work never ends. But I think it's starting that, and I think as artists sometimes it's good for us to get together and talk.
Yeah.
And really figure out the language of how we're going to navigate this.
Yeah.
It's all about finding the right words. And it's the same
building the community.
When I teach breathing or even movement to people, it's all about, we've stored so many memories and thoughts and experiences within our body. That's how we are wired. We store things. And then we stop ourselves and try to be a different way so that we can survive. But I think this process of being free, the feeling of being free is a feeling of lightness. And to be light, you have to let go. And to let go, you really have to go to those uncomfortable places and really come to really neutralize those situations or come to terms with those situations and see how we can let it go. Is it by communication? Is it by movement? Is it by really seeking help from people who can really help us, people who have studied this? Or is it just through community? So it's a wonderful thing, starting a relationship with yourself. It's also a lot of hard work, but I think it's something everyone should do at this point in time.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's happening, no matter what. So
Salam Abdin Chodamadri, we have to let go. And to let go, we have to visit uncomfortable spaces in life. I fully agree with that. ஆனா அப்படி சொன்னதுக்கு செய்யறது ரியலிஸ்டிக்கா பிராக்டிகலா செய்யறது சரியான கஷ்டம். பிகாஸ் ஒரு இன்னொரு மெமரில இருந்து வெளியால வாரதுக்கே எனக்கு ஒரு 15 வருஷம் எடுத்தது. சரிங்களா? ஆனா கஷ்டப்படுறதுதான் சொல்றேன். இந்த கான்டெக்ட்ல வந்து இப்ப நான் இது கேட்க வந்து அந்த ஸ்பேஸ்ல வந்து இந்த ஐடென்டிட்டிக்கான ப்ரைட் எடுக்கிறது வந்து கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமா இருக்கு. பிகாஸ் ஸ்பெஷலி ஃபார் மீ, ஸோ ஐ எம் a female and a lesbian, தன்பால் இருப்புள்ள ஒரு பெண்ணாக நான் அடையாளப்படுத்துறேன். அதே நேரத்துல நான் ஒரு தமிழ், யாழ்ப்பாணத்துல பேச்சுத்துறை கிராமத்துல பிறந்தேன். இதுல வந்து மைனாரிட்டிஸ்லயும் ஒரு மைனாரிட்டியா தான் எங்களை போல ஆக்கள் இருக்கிறேன். அதாவது தமிழ், இந்து மதத்தை சார்ந்தவர், யாழ்ப்பாணத்துல இருந்து, அதே நேரத்துல ஒரு பெண்மணி, அதே நேரத்துல ஒரு லெஸ்பியன் என்ற அடையாளங்கள் கணக்கு கிடக்குது. அப்ப இதுல வந்து நாங்க வெளியால வரைக்குல வந்து நாங்க குயர் பர்சனை வெளியால வர்றது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் அந்த ஐடென்டிட்டியை நாங்க சொல்லிக்கல வந்து நான் ஒரு தமிழ் பெண்ணாக, ஒரு சிஸ்டர் பெண்ணாக வெளியால வாரது, அதோட சேர்த்து அந்த 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 அதாவது டொமஸ்டிக் வயலன்ஸால வந்த வெளியால வந்து ஒரு விக்டம் என்ற ஒரு ஐடென்டிட்டியோடையும் சேர்த்து தான் நாங்கள் வெளியால வரணும். அது ஒன்று. ரெண்டாவது வந்து நாங்கள் வெளியால வரைக்கல வந்து சேவையான சந்தர்ப்பங்களை நாங்கள் வெளியால வந்துட்டோம்னா அந்த சேவையான சந்தர்ப்பங்களை மட்டும் சொல்லாமல் எந்த நேரத்திலையும் என்ன டைம் என்றாலும் நீங்க சொல்லக்கூடிய அந்த ஸ்பேஸ் உங்களுக்கு இருந்தால் அதுதான் உண்மையான ப்ரைட் என்று நான் சொல்லுவேன். அப்ப சதாவும் அப்படின்னு சொன்ன மாதிரி எஸ் வி ஹேவ் டு லெட் கோ விசிட் அன்கம்ஃபர்டபிள் ஸ்பேசஸ் என்று சொல்லிருக்கல. இந்த கான்டெக்ட் நான் முதல் சொன்ன அந்த மைனாரிட்டிஸ்ல இருக்கிற இன்னும் மைனாரிட்டிஸோட லைஃப் நாங்க பாக்க வந்து கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமா தான் கிடக்க போகுது. ஆகவே எனக்கு வந்து வெளியால வந்து நச்சாக்க ரெஸ்பெக்ட் எடுக்கிறதோ அல்லது கொஞ்சம் ஸ்ட்ராங்கா வலுவாக நான் வெளியால வர்றதுக்கு வந்து இவ்வளவு ஐடென்டிட்டியையும் நான் வெளியால கொண்டு வர்ற ஒரு சந்தர்ப்பத்துல தான் நான் எனக்கு இந்த ரெஸ்பெக்டையோ அல்லது மற்ற சமூகங்களோட நீங்கள் பண்ற அந்த ஸ்பேஸையோ எனக்கு எடுக்கல. அந்த நேரத்துலதான் எனக்கு லெட் கோ பண்ணேன். அந்த நேரத்துல தான் uncomfortable spaces to go, I can, work through it and then move on. So that's just a thought of mine.
Kiru, do you want to tell in English as well, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. No, what I said, Agni and Sala, was that I come from a Tamil community, which is a minority, and then I'm a female, and then I'm also Hindu, and from Jaffna. So I'm one of those minorities within the minority. So based on that, coming out is a process not only to come out as a queer woman or a lesbian, but also to come out with all of these identities which are anyways discriminated at one point, in whatever the history that we have in Sri Lanka. So in that context, it is difficult to come out in that sense, and also to understand the identity not only by myself, but also to come out as a queer Tamil woman to people so that they understand through that lens. A queer woman or a lesbian is one thing, but a Tamil lesbian is a different thing. It gives a whole new meaning to it. And so that you need to understand.
How are you able to
How do you do it?
Yeah, how do you do it? Like within that community trying to survive.
What is your story like?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my story, of course, I come from a very privileged background. I'm sure there are so many people who are not privileged. So therefore, with the social circle, education, financial stability and everything, it was much more easier to come kind of, move or navigate through society. So it was easier for me. But in terms of understanding myself and truly taking pride to come out with all of this identity, and also, in addition to that, I had also childhood trauma. For 15 years, I went through domestic violence. It's something what I learned now is to first kind of understand your identity in addition to how your body reacts to any kind of trauma or adversity or threat. And that is how you start to heal, is what I, with my experience, I have understood. And then from there, you take that next step to then even though, for example, even if you have anger towards your parents, having anger is okay, but then you need to have space for yourself. So you need to be that big person to heal in that context. Likewise, as you all correctly said, we need to also understand other people are coming from, different contexts, different social circles, different beliefs. So, for example, if the LGBTIQ community in Sri Lanka gets a bit triggered if a heterosexual or someone who is out of the LGBTIQ community says something hateful or some sort of hate speech, we need to empathize. As Sala correctly said, we need to empathize and have that understanding that they come and believe, and we need to be there. Because for that we have to heal, and in order to heal, give them perspective, we need to empathize and let them understand what exactly this whole thing of sexual orientation or gender identity or whatever it is in that spectrum is. So that is that's how I dealt with it. But there's so much for me to learn. There's so much for me to continue to kind of assess my progress. One thing which really helped me is therapy, which was a really huge taboo in my family. And I started going to therapy just about 5-6 years ago. So that also is something which is progressive in my life.
So the thing is, the healing process is the reason that I feel like we should be having maybe another conversation with different people as well, because healing process is a total different thing. But at the moment, also this, I can't imagine we have pretty much no idea about how every person go through in their own traumas and how to deal with it, because there's shame, there's so much of unnecessary thoughts that you don't feel comfortable at all, and there's so much that you want to unlearn and to understand, and also to learn from it, to be a different person also. And being a different person is also afraid, because society has been telling you this is not you. Everybody has been telling you that this is not you, and you can't do this because it's not you.
And also it's a cycle, no?
Yeah, it's a cycle
Like
that
if
doesn't
you're-
stop. Yeah. So I think this is the whole idea about making the Agni Talks and trying to make this community and bringing everyone together and to expanding it as much as possible with our activist groups as well, to because to get out of that circle, and that circle has to stop, and only way we can stop the circle is through communication. because communication is the key thing at the moment, no matter what happens. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you say, you are going to get harassed unless you stand up for yourself. It's like that situation. So that's how we have to think, and we have to act in that way, the worst kind of situation, and act. So always expect for the worst, but still trying to not get traumatized in that worst situation, and like try to somehow come out of it and think out of that spectrum. And it's a lot of thinking and a lot of work. So I think like we can bring in different people to talk about these things about when it comes to work. So not work. It's not about, I think like many of us are awakened about everything. This is why we are in this situation also now. And it's just that there's work to keep it out, because this is not like it's more of a freedom concept, no? Freedom is actually like, someone was also telling me like freedom is also like what you create, but I don't know, like to create also you need to fight for it, I think, like, so you should be prepared to fight for it as well, to be who you are, what you want to be at the end. So yeah guys, so I pretty much got what I wanted from everyone, right? I hope that you guys also were able to put out as much as possible about the insights about this, the question about who you want to be and how you want to be and what you can do to be who you are. So we can talk more about the mental health thing, I think, like in another episode, I think, because we can continue this conversation in a different way.
Yeah, I don't think this conversation, like, there's so much more, there's so much, it's so deep to kind of keep going at it, and each statement is like, another question, so how do we do this, how do we do that? So I think it's a constant effort of questioning ourselves and being aware also, in a certain sense.
So then, thank you guys for joining the first episode of Agni Talks. And thank you Kiruthika, and thank you Sala, and Aditya, thank you for helping me out here. Like, let's try to keep this conversation trilingual as much as possible. භාෂා තුනෙම පුළුවන් තරම් කතා කරන්න බලමු. මේක අපි පුළුවන් තරම් කට්ටියට කමියුනිකේට් කරන්න බලමු මේක. ඒක තමයි ஐடியா එක.
Yes. இங்க இருந்தவங்க எல்லாருக்கும் நன்றி. இதை கேட்டுக்கிட்டு இருக்கவங்களுக்கும் நன்றி. இதுல இருந்து எந்த உதவி வேண்டும் அப்படின்னு நீங்க நினைச்சாலும் தயவு செய்து கான்டாக்ட் பண்ணுங்க. And thank you, nandri to Sala and Kiru as well for coming together and doing this. So
thank you, Adi. Thank you, Kiru, for sharing space.
Cool. Thank you guys. Then
awesome.
see you again soon.